Good afternoon. It is the 1st of May 2021. A happy Labor Day to you from wherever you're watching here in Kenya, East Africa and beyond. Welcome to Weekend at 1. My name is George Maringa, where we have latest updates, especially coming in from President Uhuru Kenyatta's speech, where he was addressing the nation during this year's Labor Day celebrations. This and much more coming your way at this welcome. And of course, engage us on our social media platforms at KTN News KE, at George Maringa _ the hashtag is Weekend at 1. We begin from State House, Nairobi, where President Uhuru Kenyatta has lifted the lockdown and cessation of movement in and out of the zoned area of Nairobi, Kajiado, Machakos, Kiambu and Nakuru. He has further directed that all schools are to reopen according to school's calendar. Bars can also resume operation up to 7 p.m, while countrywide curfew remains from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Our reporter Chris Thairo has been at the State House Nairobi, where he has followed these events live, and he now joins us live. Chris Thairo, good afternoon. What more can you tell us from the events happening from State House earlier on today?
A very good afternoon to you, Maringa, and our dear viewers. Coming to you live from State House, Nairobi. And President Uhuru Kenyatta has just concluded his Labor Day speech for the year 2021. And what I can say is that his speech has come with goodies, especially for traders, those who love traveling, and especially for businessmen, since they have been widely affected by the COVID-19 restrictions that were set up a month ago. And top of some of the restrictions that have been lifted is the movement from the 5 counties that cessation has been lifted. He has also allowed eateries and restaurants to open. Remember, they were opening, but what was happening, it was just takeaway, but now they have been allowed to operate up to 7 p.m. Also, bars have also been opened, but to operate to 7 p.m. Churches also have now been allowed to start operating or open to worshippers, but also the rule will be a third of those of the congregation, not more than a third of the congregation are allowed. But the president has been really strict in saying that, or indicating and telling Kenyans that nothing will stop him from returning some of these restrictions if Kenyans will not adhere to the MOH guidelines. That is wearing your mask, sanitizing, and also keeping social distance. And actually, he has even gone ahead and indicating that one of the main reasons that he has been advised to lift this cessation and also extend the curfew now from 8 p.m. It will be starting from 10 p.m. up to 4 a.m. is that the infections percentage has gone down up to 74%. In the 5 counties, and also in Mombasa, he indicated that the infections rates have gone down by 74%. But as I said, nothing will stop him from returning some of these restrictions. And from now, I'll allow viewers to listen to part of President Uhuru's speech during this year's Labor Day celebrations.
That one, with regard to the zoned areas comprising of the counties of Nairobi, Machakos, Kiambu, Kajiado, and Nakuru, it is directed that the cessation of movement into and out of the zoned areas be and is hereby lifted. 2, that the hours of curfew in the zoned area are revised to commence at 10 p.m. and end at 4 p.m. with effect from midnight on this day of May 2021 until otherwise directed. 3, that in-person and congregational worship shall resume in strict fidelity to the guidelines issued by the Interfaith Council and the Ministry of Health. However, the attending congregation is still capped to 1/3 of the capacity of the place of worship. And that 4, the operations of restaurants and eateries in the zoned areas shall resume in accordance with the guidelines issued jointly by the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, and restaurants are indeed encouraged to utilize outdoor spaces to maximize on physical and social distancing. For the entirety of the Republic of Kenya, it is directed as follows: that 1, all our educational institutions in all levels of learning shall reopen in accordance with the calendar issued by the Ministry of Education. And 2, that the resumption of sporting activities shall be guided by the regulations to be issued by the Ministry of Health, jointly with the Ministry of Sports. 3, that all bars in the territory of the Republic of Kenya are to operate until 7 p.m. And I repeat, 7 p.m. 4, all employers and enterprises are encouraged to allow their workers to work from home, with the exception being with respect to employees working in critical or essential services that cannot be delivered remotely. And 5, that all hospitals are directed to limit the number of visitors for hospitalized patients to 1 visitor per day, to 1 visitor per patient per day. And 6, that the prohibition against political gatherings is extended until otherwise directed. And 7, that all other containment measures and guidelines that are not expressly set out in this address remain in force and shall be enforced dutifully.
Indeed, good news coming in to the residents of Nairobi, Kajiado, Machakos, Kiambu and Nakuru following that presidential address on this Labor Day, where President Uhuru Kenyatta has actually said that when he issued second public order of 2021 in March, announcing the obtaining of containment measures, the COVID caseload in Nairobi was at 56,815. Now, this caseload has now gone down to below 15,000 for the month of April, signifying a 74% decrease in infections in Nairobi. Now, moving on, and still on matters Labor Day, Labour sector leaders were present during the Labor Day celebrations marked at State House this morning. This is the second year that Kenya marks this day, meant to commemorate the labour movement during the harsh effects brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, some of the leaders present were CS for Labour Simon Chelugui, Secretary General of KOTU Francis Atwoli, and Federation of Kenya Employers Executive Director Jacqueline Mugo. Let's listen in to some of the highlights.
It is through corruption that our students have continued to be sold stolen examinations and answers and receiving fake degrees from our institutions of high learning. It is through corruption that we cannot attract both foreign and domestic investments in this country, with the obsession of demanding 10% or more on such investment, and this scares those who would be people who can create employment and supplement to our efforts of development to invest in this country. Your Excellency, on our procurement systems right away, from the county governments to the national government, this area has been infiltrated by unscrupulous people known as entrepreneurs, and for us to develop in this world of digital and e-commerce trade, we appeal to Your Excellency not to get tired with what you are doing to fight this menace. Kenyan workers support you, and we will continue to support you. And on that, I also say, and I will repeat, President, usitishwe. Now, usitishwe. This equally reminds us that unless we support you to stop corruption, we will not take off as a nation economically and development-wise. Your Excellency, your efforts and what you are trying to do, both at the level of governance and at the level of managing our affairs, will continue to be supported by Kenyans of goodwill. Your Excellency, I would like to remind you that in 1968, the founding father of this nation, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, gave a grant of $5 million to the government of Malaysia, since Kenya was far ahead in terms of total GDP and its economic performance compared to the governments of Singapore, South Korea, now Vietnam, Malaysia, Taiwan, South Korea, and other African countries that have since overtaken us. We hope and trust that in you we can realize the dreams of our forefathers.
This tax rebate, Your Excellency, has therefore positively impacted on their incomes. Your Excellency, also allow me to appreciate the support you have continued to give to the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection and the opportunity in carrying out and serving Kenyans in executing this mandate. This we are very grateful as a ministry. This support has led us to put in place several measures aimed at improving the implementation of projects and programs within the labor and employment sector. I will highlight just two. The ministry has undertaken certain initiatives to prevent the spread of COVID-19 at workplaces. These include undertaking surveillance at workplaces to ensure compliance with government protocols and capping the spread of coronavirus. The ministry has also developed workplace safety guidelines in form of advisories to help both employers and workers to assess risk and adopt procedures that mitigate the COVID-19 risk at workplace. And through the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health, Your Excellency, we are working through multi-agency approach to improve the bill that establishes this directorate. Your Excellency, in April 2016, the government established National Employment Authority to enhance the institutional framework for employment promotion. Since its information, the authority has achieved considerable milestones in employment promotion. One of the areas where the National Employment Authority has put a lot of effort is streamlining the registration of employment agencies to protect Kenyan workers seeking employment both locally and abroad.
You're watching Weekend at 1, but we want to head into our first commercial break. I'll be back with more news on the other side. Do stay with us.